3:30, so we're waiting for the signal to go that we are live, and we'll begin the meeting. And we are live. Okay. So I'm going to begin the Thursday, December 10th, 2020 Park Board meeting. And we appear to have a quorum, and I think I will, let's see, I don't know if Pamela's mic is on, so maybe what we'll do is just let the list speak for itself. I know that everyone's here except Sally Lodato, who is going to be calling in or coming in a little bit later. Let's see. And Nick Sumner has joined us. Excellent. Hello, Nick. Okay. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. Robert Flowers, go ahead.
Yes, I have some questions. I submitted written comments, but my question has to do with whether this facility is an emergency, something that has to be done right away. It seems that it's the scheduling for design and construction is very short, and I'm just kind of wondering if there is some emergency and that's what's brought this up right away, or if this is something that the water department plans to do out in the future or something.
So my understanding is that while it's not emergent, as in the next couple of months, it is something that the water department has been tasked to do, and sooner would be better than later, but I don't know that it's what I would call an urgency. Let's see, does anybody else want to comment on that from the staff?
Oh my God, the feedback is so bad.
That's consistent with our understanding here too, Jennifer. This is Nick.
Thank you, Nick. All right,
well,
Robert, go ahead.
If it's not an urgent project, I really suggest that we step back away from this for a while and take a look at it. I just don't want to see the parks, any park, just automatically considered as a place for other city facilities to be placed simply because the city owns the property.
I understand.
So that's my concern. If this was an emergency, if it was something that, a failed facility that had to be replaced right away, that might be different. But I'm just thinking that there should be a long-range plan for the water department. They should have thought about this. They should be looking out into the future for growth, and they should know the system requirements and what the improvements would have to be. And if they know that, then they obviously should be looking for a place to put these facilities. Mm-hmm. And if they have not done that, then they need to go do that. Other than just automatically considering public property or city-owned property, i.e. the parks.
I understand.
So that's kind of that was my concern. And since the water department is not at this meeting, and I wasn't aware that they would be or wouldn't be, I didn't know.
Sure.
That's just a question that could be forwarded to them, I would imagine.
Yes, so thank you, Robert. My understanding is they knew this was coming down the pike, and that it would be a requirement given the development issues and the fact that Spokane is growing, and that they had looked at other sites, and that we are in the middle of that process. We are not voting today, and we are in the listening and gathering information stage. So we are trying to take our time about this and consider all options and encourage the water department to consider all options as well. So there is no decision today, I can assure you of that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's see, Mary Hartsey.
Yeah, I'm just listening in today. Thank you. No comment to make.
Okay, Carol Ellis.
Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate your willingness to listen. It wasn't clear from the agenda that people who didn't write would be able to comment, but thank you. Regarding planning and growth, I would like to call to the Park Board's attention the letter of John Schramm, not just regarding the cell towers that the ordinance that the City Council just passed, but also regarding the whole concept of planning. My understanding is that the Water Department, Public Works knew for 10 years they needed a new water tower. and that 2 years ago they thought it would be best to place it at 31st and Napa. And it seems that since they've had 10 years and the growth has continued to occur to the south and to the west, that there ought to be some consideration on the part of city plan to plan ahead so it's not just a booster, because my understanding is this is a booster tower. But as we continue to grow at Eagle Ridge, as we continue to grow south in Glen Rose, and as we project that will continue, to me it does not seem possible that just a booster tower is what the city needs long range. So I would ask the park board to carefully read John Schramm's letter. I would ask the park board to remember that we have not been intensely in growth management for 30 years. I served on city and county growth management in the late 80s, early 90s. And if we were doing long-range planning, such as Rick just discussed, then we would have been thinking about this as our growth started to perk up in 2015 for the last 5 years. So I think there are planning issues here citywide, and that parks shouldn't just heal quickly because all of a sudden they've been brought to the table where the planning has been inadequate. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Carol. Diane?
Did you say Diane?
I did.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask the park board to request that the city engineer provide greater transparency about the site selection process. I want to be sure that every member of the park board is aware that the city did a site selection process in 2018. The presentation that Dan Buller is using currently is not clear on that fact. In 2018, the city chose not to build a water tower in Hamlin Park, chose to purchase land in order to put the water tower at 31st and Napa, because Hamlin Park wasn't the best location for a water tower, because it isn't. They were right in 2018 when they purchased land. They're wrong now when they say that Hamlin Park is the best location for the water tower. If that were true, then this conversation would have been happening in 2018 with the original site selection process for the water tower. I am very concerned about the lack of transparency and the manipulation of the facts in this case, and I strongly encourage the park board to request that information from 2018 so they have all of the information to look at when they're doing their due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. Dave?
Yes, I want to reiterate what Diane just said. I was going to say some of that also about prior site selection and not being selected and being turned down as not workable, and now all of a sudden it is. The other thing, like I said at the last meeting, and I'll probably say at the next meeting, is this is a park. I don't know when we've gone and turned parks into more than a park. In other words, it's a park. It's a natural park. It should remain a natural park. I don't understand why we're not looking at something like that Shopko parking lot that with the building over there. That thing is decrepit. There's weeds growing up through it. How about beautifying that with a water tower? It can't be any more than 10 feet difference, and it's probably higher than over here at Hamlin Park. The other thing is I recently moved closer to Hamlin Park, and part of that was to be close to the park. But I think we all know that if they were to do this in the park, it's going to ruin the park. It won't be a park. It'll be ruined. They're going to do damage to more than 2 acres out of the 6 acres or 7 acres, whoever you go by. But to get in there to do all this work, besides having an ugly water tower, you're just going to damage the park, and it'll be a park no more. So I think that our parks need to be protected and just not used for commercial use for contractors down the road who want to develop something and need more water. I think we need to find a different spot.
Thank you, Dave.
That's all I've got to add. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your comment. Any other call-in folks? Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Heather.
Hello, Heather.
Hi. Excuse me. My comment would be that Hamlin is used more than ever. With our current lockdown for COVID, it has increased tremendously. I go there twice a day, and I get blown away with how many people are there now. Mm-hmm. Families, people walking dogs, and I'm afraid that if a water tower goes up, the rest of it will be trampled bare. I encourage the parks people to go out there and spend time and see how much it is used. As the city plans to have affordable housing, our parks are becoming more and more important to families. I wrote a letter, and I hope everybody reads it. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. We did see your letters, as a fact. It's appended to the end of all of our meeting materials.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Sorry for my phone in the background. All right. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. You see 7 items in front of you on the consent agenda. Are there any park board members who wish an item redacted from that list? If not, then I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Jennifer, I'll second. This is Barb Ritchie.
Thank you, Barb. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. All right. I don't believe we have a special guest today. Am I correct? I believe we can move right on to Mark Buning and the financial report.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Everybody's having a good day. Let me share my... Let's see here. Where is it? All right. Here we go. Okay. So it's hard to believe we're closing out the November financial report already, and a lot of the what you'll be seeing today is pretty much the continuation of a lot of the trends we've been seeing so far this year. We'll begin looking at with the park fund. We'll look at the year-to-date through November expenditures compared to the 2-year average budget of what we have, and then we see here that the actual expenditures are significantly below the budget year based on that, as I mentioned, that 2-year average. Due primarily to our significantly reduced temp seasonal costs, our capital expenditure costs, and actually cost containment all across the division, our 2020 operating expenditures are about $5.8 million less than at the same point in 2019. So, and then moving on to our revenues, here again, we're comparing our revenues through November to our 2-year average budget. And again, we see that it's significantly below that 2-year budget average. Revenues are approximately $4.2 million less than at the same point in 2019. So, however, when we compare the two, when we compare our year-to-date revenues to our year-to-date expenditures through November, revenues have exceeded expenditures by about $2.3 million. By contrast, in 2019, at this same point in the year, through November, revenues exceeded expenditures by about $300,000. And then through our tight expenditure controls, our maintenance, our concentration on core services, the Parks Fund has been actually put on a much more solid footing as we are closing out the year and moving into 2021. Are there any questions before we move on to the Golf Fund? Okay, we'll run through the same routine with the Golf Fund. And the year-to-date expenditures are below the 2-year historical budget by 14%. Again, through tight expenditure controls, maintenance of temp seasonal budgets, control across the board cost controls. Total expenditures in 2020 are about $177,000 less than at this same point in 2019. Now, looking at revenues, the Golf Fund is a star here. Even in this COVID year, golf revenues are exceeding the 2-year revenue budget by about 10%. Actual 2020 revenues are about $492,000 over revenues at this same point in 2019. So our year-to-date facility improvement fee is about $650,000, and the year-to-date reserve for that facility improvement fee is slightly over $1 million. And then looking at our comparison of revenues to expenditures, through November, total revenues have exceeded expenditures by about $1.4 million. This is an improvement of about $670,000 compared to November of 2019. This puts the Golf Fund in a great position as we move into that time of year where revenues are not, I wouldn't say non-existent, but are definitely much lower, but we still have the fixed costs of salaries and benefits and maintenance costs. We're looking forward to a good preseason sales, but I remind everybody those revenues that come in by the end, typically during the holiday season, will be booked in January of next year. So that's when they'll first show up in the books. Any questions about the Golf Fund or the Park Fund before we look at the bond recap? Okay, thank you. Here we have looking at the year-to-date recap for the bond fund. We're comparing our expended and committed, and we're showing a budget balance of about $797,000. Now, I do want to point out that this number includes reimbursements from some of our grant funds for expenditures that were incurred in the bond fund. So this number is, if you take the budget and subtract the expended and the committed, it's less than this, but that includes that revenue that has come back in. So, any questions? Otherwise, that concludes the monthly financial report.
Greta, you have a question?
I do not.
Oh, okay. I saw your little screen light up there. All right. I just wanted to thank the staff for such a great job on tightening belts, so to speak, really watching expenses, Barry and the crew for watching expenses on the bond projects. That's allowed us to come through this time with a minimum of hurt considering what's going on. And thanks to golf for being such a rock star. So, all right. We will then move forward. We don't have any special discussion action items, so we'll move forward to the committee reports, special or not. Let's see, Rick Chase, Urban Forestry did not meet. Did you want to say anything?
No, we didn't meet, and hopefully one of these months we will get to meet. And that's the whole report.
All right, thank you. Jerry Sterling, golf.
Yes, I'd be happy to talk, Jennifer. We have been meeting regularly. Golf, like you said, is a rock star, and we continue to do that even though the winter months have set in. Today, I'd like to ask Mark Poirier, our golf manager, to present. We have an action item for the board, and that is dealing with the golf pro at Esmeralda, Rob Sanders, and we have a contract amendment that Mark will be presenting, so you have a good understanding of why this is coming to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Everybody can see my screen okay here?
Looks good.
Okay. What I have before you today, Park Board, is a contract amendment for the 2021 season for the golf professional Rob Sanders at Esmeralda Golf Course. Now, Parks and Recreation entered into a 5-year contract with an optional 4-year extension with Mr. Sanders in 2017. And in 2018, Park Board passed a resolution authorizing a $7.5 million loan from the Spokane Investment Pool to upgrade the conditions at all 4 city golf courses. And what these upgrades entail is an upgrade to the irrigation system that was well overdue. And looking back at Indian Canyon and finally being done with that project, we can all see the benefit in doing so. The second SIP golf project construction started in the fall of 2019, and that also upgraded the Esmeralda irrigation system, and that project concluded in the spring of 2020. Now, the construction closed 2 holes of the golf course at a time during this project, and we all knew that this would be impactful to the revenue stream going in. Not a lot of people want to play golf during construction, or they may feel like their dollars aren't worth, only playing, 2 holes shy of a standard 18-hole round of golf. And then the 2018 Park Board resolution requires, prior to commencement of any construction, Parks and Recreation staff shall confirm the compensation to be paid to each affected golf professional and identify the source of funds for such compensation and shall have such compensation approved by the Park Board. Hence why I'm bringing that forward to you today. Now this slide here shows the gross revenues during that same time of construction. As you can see, in 2017, gross revenues topping out at over $106,000, and then 18 a little uptick, bringing it to $134,000 and change there, which brings our 2-year average during that time of $120,350. Then the last bar on the bottom shows the 2019 actual gross revenue to the golf professional, Rob Sanders, and you can see that big hit that he took there, only bringing in $63,766.
Mark, excuse me just a minute. I've still got the big main one on.
Yeah, Mark, I don't think you're showing the slideshow.
We're not bringing the slides over.
Uh-oh.
It's not in slideshow mode, Mark.
Yeah, uh-oh. Oh, boy. I'm sorry. It shows it on my screen, and I'm going through it. How about if I do this?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Barb?
I don't have it.
The little slideshow down at the right-hand side has a little slide projector. Mark, if you just push that, it'll blow up your screen so everybody can see it.
Is that the gopher from Caddyshack?
Yes, it is.
And we brought him back to Esmeralda.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, Barb, but I'm seeing on my screen here everything it's in slideshow mode. I don't know why it's not translating.
Well, I can see in mine now, so thanks.
Okay.
Something you did right.
Okay, we'll just go through. Can you see this slide here, the financial loss?
Right.
No?
Yes. Some of it can.
It's up now.
Okay, sorry about this technical difficulty here. So the financial loss of the golf professional is calculated at that delta is $56,584. That's based on that 2-year adjusted average again. The professional recognizes that the city invested in the golf course and is willing to kind of share in that and is willing to accept roughly 50 cents on that dollar, bringing it to $27,000 as the negotiated financial impact to his operation. The pro compensation will come from the Golf Enterprise Fund revenues during the 2021 season. Can everyone see this slide now?
Yes.
Where it shows, no? Where it shows the revenue sharing?
It shows gross receipts and 90% of green fees new on the bottom.
Perfect. So on this slide, this is the percent that the city gets, okay, from the golf operation. And, here you'll see 2% of the gross receipts within driving range, 2% of the rental carts, 1% of the pro shop sales, half of the park and recreation golf lessons, and 40% of the facility rentals, and then 80% of the course rentals that are non-golf. And during my time, we haven't been able to do this, but that is just so, if somebody wanted to rent out our entire facility for the day, they could do so. And on the bottom, that's the amendment percent there, showing 90% of the greens fees, and that is new. That is part of the amendment there. Here, moving on. Everyone see this one here? Just making sure everyone can see. And this is the proposed revenue sharing change. As you can see, all these numbers change 98% of the driving range. This is Golf Pro Share here. 90% of the rentals, cart rentals, 99% of the pro shop sales, half of those park and rec lessons, 60% of the facility fees, and 100% of the food and beverage sales. And then here in red, this is the new amendment of 10% of the greens fees. Now, Rob Sanders currently has 5% of the greens fees in his contract, so we're just proposing of upping that to 10%, which is exactly what we did with Doug Ferris in his amendments during the construction at Indian Canyon. And this 10% green fee payback to the golf pro will go on until that $27,000 is repaid. Lastly here, just, our staff recommendation at this time is to approve a contract amendment with Rob Sanders doing business as Sandbaggers Club, LLC for the 2021 golf season, defining an updated revenue sharing agreement. Any questions?
We'd like to present this, Jennifer, to the park board now for a motion.
Okay, any second?
Jennifer, this is Barb. I'll second.
Great. Further discussion? I do think it's important to recruit and retain good people, and this is part of that, of good people.
Well, I think we'd like to offer one other thing, Jennifer, the fact that Rob is new to Esmeralda and Spokane, and he, as a pro there, has put a great deal of his own money, his own dollars, into the improvements at Esmeralda. So you can see things if you go to the clubhouse area, the new shed area that provides safety and covering, and then a variety of other things that are going to be showing up this next spring at the driving range. So Rob is totally invested in making Esmeralda shine a little bit brighter than it has in the past.
Jennifer, this is Bob. Just another comment to add to this. The sharing of the green fees with Rob, the estimate is that will be paid off by June or July of next year, and then that additional sharing of the fees will be canceled. Excuse me.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. So I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments, Jerry, before we move on?
Yeah, I do. I have a few. I just want to remind people that golf courses are open throughout this COVID time, and every golf course, though, has a little bit different schedule, so it's best to call. But the pros are there. They're selling passes and tickets. They have a variety of clothing and other Christmas goodies that people could purchase. So that would be a fun thing to stop by. And I do want to let you know that we, in January, will be meeting because we are very busy looking into the future. And Nick Hammond has been busy with our next golf course project, which will be at Downriver. So mark January 12th, and we'll be on WebEx again, and we start about 8:05 in the morning. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. We'll move on to Land. Hello, Greta. Nice to see you.
Hi. Land Committee did not meet. The only thing I have to report is that a citizen contacted a couple members of Park Board and city staff or park staff to ask that we mentioned at the Park Board meeting the current guidelines or rules regarding social distancing, masking, et cetera, on trails during COVID. And I am hoping that someone at this meeting can lay those out for me and for the public. And this was specific to trails, but it might be interesting to hear about playgrounds and other park facilities as well.
Well, Greta and Jennifer, this is Garrett. I know Al is busy up at Manitou with the Manitou Lights, so he's not joining us. With our current guidelines and rules that we have in place, the biggest thing that has changed between the mandates that we had previously and the current mandates is the definition around having 6 or less in a group with social distancing now to 5 or less in a group with social distancing, which is good for us being an outdoor activity of a lot of what we do. What I did talk to Al about, though, is taking the standard, like the for sale signs or the campaign signs that we have in other parks that have all the guidelines related to COVID and just include those around major trailheads as well. So there's not a lot of changes within the existing guidelines and the current guidelines around outdoor recreation.
Thank you, Gary.
Are masks required then if you believe you're going to be coming across someone that you can't stay a certain distance away from that's not in your immediate household?
Yes, whether it's outdoor or indoor.
Outdoors as well?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And unless there's any further discussion, our next Land Committee meeting is January 6, 2021 at 3:30 via WebEx.
Thank you, Greta. And I will just reiterate that for those using our trails, I understand when it's hard to use a mask while you're running or jogging. But if you come up upon a walker and you're pants on them, you're not exactly helping them maintain their social distance and keeping them safe. So just think about that. We all have to kind of be extra careful with each other during these times. So we'll move on to Recreation Committee. I'm not sure that Sally has joined us. Perhaps I will. Oh, there she is. Hooray. Hello, Sally. Oh, what an adorable person in your lap.
I'm not supposed to show her. Anyway, I'm sorry I joined late and I don't have my meeting minutes in front of me, but the rec team did meet, and I'm sure you already approved the consent agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's really the action items that we had, the action item that we had at our meeting. And then we talked about preparation for the winter activities and the grooming equipment and the 6-inch rule on the trails at the different trailheads for grooming for cross-country skiing and things like that. So just keep they post these things online, and there's a line that is a direct link to information about when we do get snow, and maybe next week with a series of storms coming in, we should see some activity out there in our, and then we can maybe use our equipment and get people out.
Great. Thank you, Sally.
I'm just going off the top of my head. I also remember that out at Mount Spokane, they constructed a hut that's up for the therapeutic group so that they could continue to recreate outside and be social distanced and away from the rest of the group. So I thought that was a really cool thing that they got to do, and that looks like it's ready to go, and mountain's open, so I'm sure they're going to be getting out shortly if they haven't already.
Yes, that's great. I like the way that people think outside the box, but that's what to do. All right. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
All right. Nick Sumner, Riverfront Park Committee. Hello, Nick. Let's see. I knew that he called in earlier. I wonder if he had to.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
There we go. Sorry. Pushed a button on my headset. So all our action items went to consent agenda. We had a couple discussion items, one being an urban zipline update from John Moog. Talked a little bit about some of the specifics of it and details about the landing site down at Red Band Park and how that might work. Also talked about some limitations and some different things. Shared the concerns about that were brought up by some of the neighborhood councils and some of the city council members. Ultimately, it was just an initial conversation about it, knowing that we will have another deeper look at it at next month's meeting. So it was a good conversation anyway. And then Justin Worthington did a presentation about some parking rate adjustments that they've been discussing and gave us some possible options to look at, and we'll be discussing that in an upcoming meeting as well. John also provided the operations report, talked about the ice ribbon finally opening, the Trail of Lights that's going on. If you haven't seen it, please go down to Riverfront Park. A nice way to get out and enjoy some holiday-type spirit things and still socially distanced in an outdoor setting, so please get down and do that. Wheatland Bank is sponsoring carriage rides on Saturdays in the park, and the Pavilion Holiday Show will play through December. And he said that 650, or is it 5,000? 650 visitors came to the winter market. We had a large number of people come to the winter market at the Pavilion, and it will be continuing for the next 7 Wednesdays. And finally, Danielle presented our redevelopment update, and the piece of pie that's left over is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, really showing that we've done an excellent job in spending the dollars that were entrusted to us, in getting additional dollars out of tax and different things that have really benefited us and allowed us to do a lot of great stuff in the park. Our next meeting will be at 3 p.m. January 11th, 2021.
Thank you, Nick. And we will move on to the Finance Committee. Mr. Bob Anderson.
The Finance Committee met via WebEx on Thursday, December 8th at 3 p.m. with all committee members in attendance. There were no action items. Jason Connolly and Mark Bunig presented an excellent update on Parks vehicle lease program. Due to the current success of this leasing program and the potential for more efficient vehicles and significant reductions in maintenance cost, the Finance Committee requested a cost estimate to replace the entire fleet over a suggested 3 to 5 year period. Until such a proposal is developed, it will be impossible to develop a plan to update our entire fleet. Mark Bunig presented the November financials with monthly and year-to-date numbers, trending towards a revenue surplus for 2020. Parks Accounting has budgeted for the inclusion of the 13th month salary expense, which had a significant impact on our 2019 year-end fiscal results. Parks golf course equipment has historically suffered damage from vandalism and other factors. Park staff was requested to develop a proposal detailing costs involved with adding structures to protect the equipment at the courses. And that's kind of my summary. And the next meeting is scheduled remotely at 3 p.m., January 12th, 2021.
Thank you, Bob. Very succinct. So on to my president's report. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. There have been a lot of concerns raised in the public sphere about the water tower being an exchange or sale of land. And I wanted to clarify, as far as my understanding is, the city already owns that land. Parks are city land. Therefore, the city can't exchange or sell it to itself. It's already owned by the city. What we are being asked to consider is more of a joint use kind of thing, where parkland is used for multiple purposes. So, for example, the Sportsplex is on parkland. We have CO2 tanks under parkland, and there are leases and easements in other places in the city. Listening to this information is not giving it approval. One of the individuals wanted us to take a vote today and summarily dismiss this, but that's not what our process is. Our process is to listen and gather information on both sides, and that is what we are going to do. We are going to stay within our process. Furthermore, we're not going to take a vote today because we didn't make this an action item on the agenda, and Open Public Meeting Acts require that we inform the public within a certain amount of time that we are going to take action on an item, and that allows the public to have time to attend, put it on their calendars, comment if they need to. So we are still in the information gathering phase. We are holding to our process. We are keeping the integrity of our process and observing Open Public Meeting Act requirements. So that is why we are not voting on this right now. I can tell you that we are not of one mind right now either. So again, do not assume that listening is tacit approval. So we will move on now to conservation futures. Greta.
Yes, I have just a short report, which is Conservation Futures is looking to reconvene the Land Evaluation Committee in February to get started on a next round of nominations, currently planned for late 2021 or early 2022, with an evaluation process in late 2022. Sounds like a ways off, but it'll be here before we know it. So that's the update. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Parks Foundation, Barb Ritchie.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Happy holidays. I just want to call out Terry Fortner for the wonderful 1-hour orientation that I received. I had to pass on the meeting for November, so thank you to Chairwoman Jennifer Ogden for attending that for me. So if you have anything to add after my report, Jennifer, please do so. I am happy to report that Santa Elves, which are Terry and Yvonne, who are the two employees there at the Spokane Parks Foundation, are playing Santa's Elves, providing stewardship to donors. They're working on their annual holiday appeal, which is kind of an end-of-year appeal for annual gifts. And they're also sending out board thank yous for those public members and community members who've submitted a gift to the foundation. Their board members actually send out really nice thank you cards, personal thank you cards. And so they track that. I had a great orientation, full transparency, learning about their budget, basically investments, and their campaign contracts. So I look forward to my first board meeting on December 16th at 4:30, which is next week, and looking forward to continue the partnership, engaging in dialogue, and working in the future on kind of an updating of the MOU. As you know, the Spokane Parks Foundation works with both the county and the city. So I'm looking forward to being a liaison, serving both sides, being a conduit to communications and open dialogue. So with that, Terry, add anything? Jennifer, please do so. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry, you first.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. First of all, I really want to say a very special thank you to Jerry Sperling for the time and energy, the friendship, the camaraderie, everything that she brought to the foundation board. And as is the case, there's always a changing of the guard with regard to this liaison position. And Barb, we are so excited to have you on board, and we welcome you. And I wish we were meeting in person. Everyone is very excited to have you be a part of the team. And Jennifer, again, many, many thanks to you for joining us last month and providing just some great wisdom and a good update about what's happening with Parks and Rec Division and the city. And just, it was lovely to have you, and everyone really appreciated your time as well.
Well, thank you very much. I guess the only things that I would add is that the Parks Foundation talked about the importance of their grant program and the work that they do there, and the potential for an upcoming Give Butter type of online donation thing, their vehicle or mechanism they're looking at. So one of the other things that I really appreciate about my fellow park board members is the depth of experience that you all bring to your positions here. And Jerry, being the heir to the Auditorium Park and all of that, and the carousel, and then Barb with all of your foundation experience, you guys also are in the category of rock stars. So all of my fellow park board members, thank you for everything you bring. Councilmember Kinnear.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Just want to let you know that the park ordinance update that I briefed you with about last month passed council. As you recall, that was to make sure that people who are going to do larger events in parks would actually make a reservation and have a cleanup plan. So Garrett, me, Mary Miramatsu from legal worked for the last 4 months. I think we had 12 drafts, and a week ago Monday presented to council. Council passed it 6-1, and the neighborhoods were ecstatic because it means that they no longer ostensibly have to clean up after people, large groups come and use the park. So I think that was a huge win for parks and for the city and for the neighborhoods. And we finished for this year, the GOAT project, which, as you may recall, brings goats into areas that are susceptible to wildland fire. And this year it was Hangman, and I wasn't able to attend because of a knee injury, but Eric was able to go with his kids, no pun intended, and there were about 200 goats that were let loose to munch down all of the flammable material so that the homes around that park and that area would be protected going well into next year. The goats will then be going up to District 1 and then District 3 next year, and then back to Hangman to work that area. It was just a huge success, and people turned out to see it. I got to see pictures. That's not the same as being there. So it was a lot of fun. And then finally, we are going to be voting on the final budget of the year. As you know, we are required to have a balanced budget. Our budget is about $1 billion with a B dollars. And interestingly, 3 of us on council have been working with the administration to make sure that we're mostly in agreement. At this point, the budget is the council's to make changes and to pass. So the administration, has no longer really a say in how this is going to work. Keep in mind that there are 3,000 pages of line items in this budget. And if you figure each page has about 20 line items, that's about 6,000 line items. Of those 6,000 line items, we only had to do horse trading on about 50 between the administration and us. So, excuse me, that's pretty good. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear. So yes, it was great fun to see the video that Garrett shared with all of those goats running into their foraging opportunity, and the kids present were four-hooved and two-footed. So with that, Garrett, why don't you take the floor?
Well, hopefully you all can hear me okay. Sorry for the beginning of the meeting of the technical difficulties, but I just want to say, words can't explain the gratitude and thanks for 2020. Your leadership, Jennifer and Bob, and everyone else's support, and being flexible, being creative, being fluid. It's been a year that we've learned, we've grown, we've adapted, we've become better communicators, and I think better partners. So I just want to wish everyone in the park board happy holidays, and truly looking forward to 2021 and what that will bring for Parks and Recreation. And hopefully everyone can see the screen, before I dive into this, I also want to just touch on a couple other items too, that park staff will be alongside engineering services at the January Community Assembly meeting to discuss the Hamlin Park proposed water tower. And, Jennifer, you did some great words earlier, and I just want, to everyone to know that we're all learning about this together. There has been no decisions made. From day one, it was my priority as staff in Parks and Recreation that this is very transparent. It's a community discussion. Anything that's going to be discussed with staff is going to be discussed with the board, council, and community, and then we all can make the best educated and best decision for the citizens and community when that time has come. We're in no rush, and we're just working on fact-finding, and we're working on what the best approach is and what the best impacts are for the future. And, as we are going into winter, what 2020 could have brought is discouragement. With lack of budgets, and in Parks and Recreation, we're people. We're people, and we want to engage with citizens. We want to be able to provide activities. We want to be able to provide programs. And this team has done a phenomenal job of finding creative ways to be able to give light and hope to the community. And through the holiday season, if we could go to the next slide, please. We've been able to attract in different ways, and light shows being that one. And Nick highlighted this. The first one is the Numerica Lights Up the Night Holiday Tree Walk, and that'll run through the beginning of January. And this is all about partners again. This is 40 different organizations taking pride in their own holiday tree displayed around the park for citizens to enjoy. And that just adds this special flair. It's not a part of the bond. It's not the infrastructure. It's not those capital improvements. It's the little touches that our staff have been able to do to work with our partners that have everlasting impacts. Next slide, please. And here's just a picture. We got to love, James Richmond, a legal department. He loves Parks and Recreation. He's a fabulous photographer. And here's just a glimpse of on a wintry, dark night of some of the activation. We've been able to do our pavilion light shows nightly through the winter. Normally it's on a Friday through Sunday schedule, but during this holiday season, we've upped that to every night. And then being able to use that clock tower as that other beacon to be able to spread that holiday joy. Next slide, please. And here's another creative map that our staff put together of really highlighting the playfulness of Riverfront Park in the different lighting displays, the different tree locations. And it's just another creative, being very dynamic and going with the flow to come up with some pretty creative concepts. And what is pretty awesome too about all of this too is we're starting new traditions. These are traditions that the public loves and enjoys, and you'll see a lot of this carry through in the future. Next slide, please. And here's another, and we worked very closely, and in a very time-limited span of, we had an opportunity to be able to apply for some CARES Act funding through the city, and we appreciate the partnership that we have with the mayor's office and the council to be able to make this happen. And a part of that was the Riverfront Trail of Lights that was installed. And what is nice about this is now the Parks Department, we own these lights. And so we'll be able to do this on an annual basis. And again, just here's a picture of the Oak Alley of leading up into the pavilion, just adds that extra flair and that extra excitement and joy into the park. Next slide, please. And here's a viral photo that's been going around, and it's pretty amazing just what string of lights can do of our existing Blue Bridge. And, I was there last night during the winter market, and the bridge was filled with citizens in wearing masks in small groups, just enjoying the bridge and the views of the park. Next slide, please. And here's another annual event that we partner with KXLY, Extreme Team, and Avista Utilities that really, I think, touches the hearts of all of us. And this is in Kelly Park, adjacent to the Children's Hospital. And, these little kiddos can't go home for the holidays. And so to be able to provide that joy, that hope, that light outside their window is, again, a tradition that we're going to continue for a long time. Next slide, please. This is Al Vorderbruggen's baby. He's up there tonight getting the final touches, but great partnership with Friends of Manitou. Again, being dynamic, being creative. We weren't going to be able to do the traditional light show in the conservatory this year, so we wanted to take it and evolve it into a drive-through light show. That this is a normal loop drive that is shut down during the winter, and we're going to open it up to the public. We're going to be able to provide lights and displays on a half-mile loop in Manitou Park, and that'll be starting and open to the public this Friday and then leading all the way into December 20th. Next slide, please. And you can go on. So a big part, too, is the downtown. And, Nick Sumner mentioned this on his report. Opening night was this last Wednesday. 650 shoppers came to support local businesses. Last night, over 1,800 came for the second week to enjoy and support our local businesses in our winter farmers market, utilizing the pavilion and its surrounding infrastructure and indoor-outdoor farmers market, working with the health district. And again, this is, I think, a tradition that we're going to carry forward. So much support to our local businesses. And an indirect benefit, too, is seeing lines in front of Boo Radley's and other retailers downtown. Our park is activated. We bring people downtown. People are taking takeout from our local restaurants downtown. They're utilizing our retailers downtown because that park is that backbone to our downtown atmosphere. Next slide, please. And here's another great partnership with Wheatland Bank and the horse and carriage rides through the park. You were able to sign up. They're now so popular that they're sold out. But again, just these little activations that the public is just looking for to be able to come down and to enjoy and take a carriage ride through the park, enjoy all the lights and the holiday trees. Next slide, please. And here's another great partnership that we were able to secure some CARES funding for, $20,000. We went out and bought $20,000 worth of gift cards from 50 local downtown businesses. And then working with the Downtown Spokane Partnership, put that into a campaign and cross-promote with our activities as a giveaway to where you're able to sign up and win $20 gift cards. So not only does it activate local businesses, but it also activates people coming downtown and safely enjoying our local businesses. Next slide, please. Here is another win for us. And when we talk about collaboration, creativity, and partnerships, working with the health district, the state, our staff, on working on protocols to find ways to safely open up our ice ribbon, and we were able to do that. Even though we are only allowed to have 37 at a time on an hourly basis, it's working out well, and people are able to skate. And so that's just another big win, a positive win for the community in the downtown core. Next slide, please. And as recreation, never can forget about recreation. We just launched our winter activity guide, and you can see a list of all the great pieces there that we're able to provide working with the health district. I mean, if you can go on to the next slide, I'll highlight a few of these. And first is our great partners up at Mount Spokane. So we're having snowshoe tours that meet current COVID guidelines, working with the health district, youth winter adventures. I mean, again, when we look at the demographics of our 9 to 18-year-olds that haven't been able to go to school, that don't have athletics to be able to have that outlet, how do we provide these opportunities for our youth? Next slide, please. Also, virtual family game nights, virtual bingo and happy hours, virtual trivia nights, virtual yoga. I mean, this is just an example of the great creativity that our recreation staff has to be able, again, to provide some type of positive interaction with our participants. Next slide, please. And again, we touched on this, but Ski in the City. This was a pilot program that's turned into an annual event. All we need is a little bit of the white stuff on the ground, but utilizing our other facilities like golf courses, Indian Canyon Golf Course, our partners at Riverside State Park and Dwight Merkel, and using our grooming equipment to provide right outside your back door some groom trails to be able to use free to the public is a pretty cool activity that hasn't been there long term, but we hope to provide, again, years and years to come. Next slide, please. And, you know, here's just a little teaser, but just watch for a special announcement for New Year's Eve. Hint, this could be similar to 4th of July and our great partners, but again, it's just outside the box thinking of how we can continue to regionally look and partner to find creative ways to give back to the community. And with that is the end of my report, but I just truly want to thank all the staff and the park board. It's been the best / kind of worst years, but there's in my mind a lot more positive that came out of this year than negative, and that has a lot to do with the attitude and the creativity-ness of our staff and our board. So thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Great report. And again, thank you to our Parks and Rec staff for all of the ways that you're trying to help us find a way to be outside, find a way to safely be together. You guys are just amazing. So for my part, I want to wish all of you a very healthy, happy, safe Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Don't give up. The vaccine is coming. The sun will get longer in the day after the 21st, and things are looking up. Just stay positive, hang on a little longer. We'll see you in January, and everybody have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.